Part 3. Second Congress of the Russian Social Democratic Labour Party. Adoption of programme and rules and formation of a single party. Differences at the Congress and appearance of two trends within the party, the Bolshevik and the Menshevik. Thus the triumph of Lenin's principles and the successful struggle waged by Iskra for Lenin's plan of organisation brought about all the principal conditions necessary for the creation of a party, or, as it was said at the time, of a real party. The Iskra trend gained the upper hand among the social democratic organisations in Russia. The Second Party Congress could now be summoned. The Second Congress of the Rsdlp opened on July 17, 1903. It was held abroad in secret. It first met in Brussels, but the Belgian police requested the delegates to leave the country. Thereupon the Congress transferred its sittings to London. 43 delegates in all, representing 26 organisations, assembled at the Congress. Each committee was entitled to send 2 delegates, but some of them sent only 1. The 43 delegates commanded 51 votes between them. The chief purpose of the Congress was to create a real party on that basis of principles and organisations which had been advanced and elaborated by the Iskra. The composition of the Congress was heterogeneous. The avowed economists were not represented because of the defeat they had suffered. But they had since disguised their views so artfully that they managed to smuggle several of the delegates into the Congress. Moreover, the Bund delegates differed only ostensibly from the economists. In reality, they supported the economists. Thus, the Congress was attended not only by supporters of Iskra, but also by its adversaries. 33 of the delegates, that is, the majority, were supporters of Iskra. But not all of those who considered themselves Iskraists were real Leninist Iskraists. The delegates fell into several groups. The supporters of Lenin, or the firm Iskraists, commanded 24 votes. 9 of the Iskraists followed Martov. These were unstable Iskraists. Some of the delegates vacillated between Iskra and its opponents. They commanded 10 votes and constituted the centre. The avowed opponents of Iskra commanded 8 votes, 3 economists and 5 Bundists. A split in the ranks of the Iskraists would be enough to give the enemies of Iskra the upper hand. It will therefore be seen how complex the situation was at the Congress. Lenin expended a great deal of energy to ensure the victory of Iskra. The most important item on the agenda was the adoption of the party programme. The chief point which, during the discussion of the programme, aroused the objections of the opportunist section of the Congress was the question of the dictatorship of the proletariat. There were a number of other items in the programme on which the opportunists did not agree with the revolutionary sections of the Congress, but they decided to put up the main fight on the question of the dictatorship of the proletariat, on the plea that the programme of a number of foreign social democratic parties contained no clause on the dictatorship of the proletariat, and that therefore the programme of the Russian Social Democratic Party could dispense with it too. The opportunists also objected to the inclusion in the party programme of demands on the peasant question. These people did not want revolution. They, therefore, fought shy of the ally of the working class, the peasantry, and adopted an unfriendly attitude towards it. The Bundists and the Polish Social Democrats objected to the right of nations to self-determination. Lenin had always taught that the working class must combat national oppression. To object to the inclusion of this demand in the programme was tantamount to a proposal to renounce proletarian internationalism and to become accomplices in national oppression. Lenin made short work of all of these objections. The Congress adopted the programme proposed by Iskra. This programme consisted of 2 parts, a maximum programme and a minimum programme. The maximum programme dealt with the principal aim of the working class party, namely the socialist revolution, the overthrow of the power of the capitalists, and the establishment of the dictatorship of the proletariat. The minimum program dealt with the immediate aims of the party, aims to be achieved before the overthrow of the capitalist system and the establishment of the dictatorship of the proletariat, namely the overthrow of the Tsarist autocracy, the establishment of a democratic republic, the introduction of an 8-hour working day, the abolition of all survivals of serfdom in the countryside, and the restoration to the peasants of the cut-off lands, the Rsdlp, of which they had been deprived by the landlords. Subsequently, the Bolsheviks replaced the demand for the return of the Rsdlp by the demand for the confiscation of all the landed estates. The program adopted by the Second Congress was a revolutionary program of the Party of the Working Class. It remained in force until the 8th Party Congress, held after the victory of the Proletarian Revolution, when our party adopted a new program. Having adopted the program, the Second Party Congress proceeded to discuss the draft of the party rules. Now that the Congress had adopted a program and had laid out the foundations for the ideological unity of the party, it had also to adopt party rules, so as to put an end to amateurishness and the parochial outlook of the circles, to organizational disunity, and the absence of strict discipline in the party. The adoption of the program had gone through comparatively smoothly, but fierce disputes arose at the Congress over the party rules. The sharpest differences arose over the formulation of the first paragraph of the rules dealing with party membership. Who could be a member of the party? What was to be the composition of the party? What was to be the organizational nature of the party? An organized whole or something amorphous? Such were the questions that arose in connection with the first paragraph of the rules. Two different formulations contested the ground. Lenin's formulation, which was supported by Plekhanov and the firm Iskrists, and Martov's formulation, which was supported by Axelrod, Zasulich, and unstable Iskrists, Trotsky, and all the avowed opportunists at the Congress. According to Lenin's formulation, one could be a member of the party who accepted its program, supported it financially, and belonged to one of its organizations. Martov's formulation, while admitting that acceptance of the program and financial support of the party were indispensable conditions of party membership, did not, however, make it a condition that a party member should belong to one of the party's organizations, maintaining that a party member need not necessarily belong to a party organization. Lenin regarded the party as an organized detachment whose members cannot just enroll themselves in the party, but must be admitted into the party by one of its organizations, and hence must submit to party discipline. Martov, on the other hand, regarded the party as something organizationally amorphous, whose members enroll themselves in the party and are therefore not obliged to submit to party discipline, inasmuch as they do not belong to a party organization. Thus, unlike Lenin's formulation, Martov's formulation would throw the door of the party wide open to unstable non-proletarian elements. On the eve of the bourgeois democratic revolution, there were people among the bourgeois intelligentsia who, for a while, sympathized with the revolution. From time to time, they might even render some small service to the party. But such people would not join an organization, submit to party discipline, carry out party tasks, and run the accompanying risks. Yet Martov and the other Mensheviks proposed to regard such people as party members and to accord them the right and opportunity to influence party affairs. They even proposed to grant any striker the right to enroll himself in the party, although non-socialists, anarchists, and the socialist revolutionaries also took part in strikes. And so it was that instead of a monolithic and militant party with a clearly defined organization for which Lenin and the Leninists fought at the Congress, the Martovites wanted a heterogeneous and loose, amorphous party, which could not be a militant party with firm discipline because of its heterogeneous character, if for no other reason. The breaking away of the unstable Iskrists from the firm Iskrists, their alliance with the centrists, joined as they were by the avowed opportunists, turned the balance in favor of Martov on this point. By 28 votes to 22 with one abstention, the Congress adopted Martov's formulation of the first paragraph of the rules. After the split in the ranks of the Iskrists over the first paragraph of the rules, the struggle at the Congress became still more acute. The Congress was coming to the last item on the agenda, the elections of the leading institutions of the party, the editorial board of the central organ of the party, Iskra, and the Central Committee. However, before the elections were reached, certain incidents occurred which changed the alignment of forces. In connection with the party rules, the Congress had to deal with the question of the Bund. The Bund laid claim to a special position within the party. It demanded to be reorganized as the sole representative of the Jewish workers in Russia. To comply with this demand would have meant to divide the workers in the party organizations according to nationality and to renounce common territorial class organization of the workers. The Congress rejected the system of organization on national lines proposed by the Bund. Therefore, the Bundists quit the Congress. 2 economists also left the Congress when the latter refused to recognize their foreign league as the representative of the party abroad. The departure of these 7 opportunists altered the balance of forces of the Congress in favor of the Leninists. From the very outset, Lenin focused his attention on the composition of the central institutions of the party. He deemed it necessary that the Central Committee should be composed of staunch and consistent revolutionaries. The Martovites strove to secure the predominance of unstable, opportunist elements on the Central Committee. The majority of the Congress supported Lenin on this question. The Central Committee that was elected consisted of Lenin's followers. On Lenin's proposal, Lenin, Plekhanov, and Martov were elected to the editorial board of Iskra. Martov had demanded the election of all the 6 former members of the Iskra editorial board, the majority of whom were Martov's followers. This demand was rejected by the majority of the Congress. The 3 proposed by Lenin were elected. Martov thereupon announced that he would not join the editorial board of the central organ. Thus, by its vote on the central institutions of the party, the Congress sealed the defeat of Martov's followers and the victory of Lenin's followers. From that time on, Lenin's followers, who received the majority of votes in the elections at the Congress, have been called Bolsheviks, from Bolshinstvo, meaning majority, and Lenin's opponents, who received the minority of votes, have been called Mensheviks, from Menshinstvo, meaning minority. Summing up the work of the Second Congress, the following conclusions may be drawn. 1. The Congress sealed the victory of Marxism over economism, over open opportunism. 2. The Congress adopted a program and rules created the Social Democratic Party and thus built the framework of a single party. 3. The Congress revealed the existence of grave differences over questions of organization which divided the party into 2 sections, the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks, of whom the former championed the organizational principles of revolutionary social democracy, while the latter sank into the bog of organizational looseness and opportunism. 4. The Congress showed that the place of the old opportunists, the economists, who had already been defeated by the party, was being taken by new opportunists, the Mensheviks. 5. The Congress did not prove equal to its task in matters of organization, showed vacillation, and at times even gave the preponderance to the Mensheviks, and although it corrected its position towards the end, it was nevertheless unable to expose the opportunism of the Mensheviks on matters of organization and to isolate them in the party, or even to put such a task before the party. This latter circumstance proved one of the main reasons why the struggle between the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks, far from subsiding after the Congress, became even more acute.